the witty and at times risque architectonics of float design. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Blackwell to the History Museum of Mobile.
I tend to be soft-spoken unless I have a Bloody Mary in me, and we haven't gotten to that time of day. It's a pleasure to be with you. Without further ado, broken columns, pointed arches, and Bawdy Bordellos, the architecture of Carnival. As this frontispiece from Peter J. Hamilton's book, Five Flags Over Mobile, we have a rich, glorious history. Mobile's had much more than 5 flags. 7 still flutter above our skyline. With a city of such rich history, we've had multiple golden ages. Some cities have only had 1. We've had quite a number. Among them, Mobile of the antebellum era. Mobile's population at the American takeover was less than 500 in 1813. By 1860, we had a population of roughly 30,000, a third of which had one parent born on continental Europe. Another third were people of African descent. A third of that, so roughly 3,000 souls, were freed people of color. We had over 70 consulates. We were the second largest banking center in the nation, second largest cotton exporting port in the country. We weren't rich, we were filthy, stinking rich. Let's jump forward to Mobile of 1900. We are experiencing yet another golden age. A British traveler described Mobile at the time as a southern Buenos Aires. I love that description because it captures our old New World feel for the basic fact that we're hotter than the hinges of hell in a heat wave for 11.5 months of the year. For those visiting from out of town, welcome to our winter. We've got this time here when Mobile, as of this time, was the main port which bananas in this country. It was so exciting. Then, like now, we had a glorious past to look back to and an exciting future which to contemplate. Let's jump forward to the 1950s and 60s. Mobile is once again rocking and rolling. We were at this point the birthplace of container shipping, second largest city in the state. And of course we have our golden age of today. What do all of these periods have in common with one another? Mardi Gras, our greatest living tradition. Mardi Gras is at once an art form, seen here by the wonderful float painting by designer John Augustus Walker. It is an economic engine. The last study done of Carnival, in terms of what it means, big bucks, was in 2014 in the midst of the Great Recession. During that year, in less than 2 months, a University of Alabama survey has shown that Carnival generated over $400 million from Mobile and Baldwin counties, less than 2 months. That is a third of the state of Alabama's annual tourism income. So, it is art, it is economics. As our friend from A&M Stamp Company showed, it is a good time. A buddy of mine likes to call Carnival Halloween for adults. Hell, you get your own treats and you get to wear costumes. Sound pretty good. Most importantly, Carnival is a family affair. That is the root of it. A good friend of mine, his family has been affiliated with an organization going back 7 generations. It is that beauty of loading up and having a child all of your own, a godchild looking up at you with that excitement of throw me something, mister or miss. Now, we've got these wonderful parades that happen year after year. They're magical. The roots of the parading tradition go back well into antiquity. It goes back with the exhibit you have on Rome here at the wonderful History Museum. Processions of victories with the return of Roman armies to major cities such as Rome. It's the medieval progresses that wove their way through European cities during the medieval epoch. It is the Renaissance processions that enliven Florence, Venice, and other grand cities. It is the tableaus and the rich performances done at courts in France, or such as this one, the court of Charles I. It is also the invention of tradition, such as the British monarchy re-envisioning itself during the reign of Queen Victoria. The roots of this public display have many sources, and they come to fruition each year in our greatest living tradition. I'm going to focus on 3 particular floats that tell the story of this. We did not have parades at the beginning of our Carnival traditions. Mobile, being the oldest city of French habitation on the American Gulf Coast rim, will probably never know what was happening up at 27 Mile Bluff. We might know a little bit, because the archaeological excavations have revealed a lot of bottles. They were having a good time. What is known is that in the early 1830s, a group of Mobile men went out in the harbor. And when a group of Mobile men go out in the harbor then and now, there's going to be a fifth or two, and it's liquid. These guys had a very good time. Among them, Mr. Michael Kraft, who is winking and edgy. He was a founding member of the Cowbellion Duracan Society. The Cowbellion is one of those groups that is no longer active, and they established the template by which modern Carnival is known for. It doesn't matter if you're in Mobile, New Orleans, Shreveport, Fairhope, it is a parade for all people and an invitation-only ball. Following them is the Strikers Independent Society. Meet Mobile's version of the Rockettes with their goat right here. Strikers are the oldest active mystic society in the nation. Following them is the Order of Mist, the oldest continuous parading society in the country. The Mystics with their beautiful silver leaf cap, the KORs, and the Comic Cowboys with their own version of floats. Now, we're going to look closely at 3 floats, dating from 1880 and 1881. One is by the Order of Mist, the Infant Mystics, and the Order of Mist again. In 1880, the Order of Mist chose the theme of the historic chronology of the world. It is very architectonic. This is an overall view. This is the emblem float, with Folly chasing death around the broken column. The broken column is very symbolic. You've got to think, Mobile 1860, second largest banking center in the nation. I reiterate, filthy, stinking rich. 1868, when the Order of Mist were founded, it was the height of radical reconstruction. Filthy, stinking, broke. In that year, those guys gathered right in front of this building and staged a parade. And the beauty of this emblem really underscores a vital theme of Carnival. It's a good time. Around the broken column, symbolizing the defeated South in Mobile, run every year a jester who is always in mustard and maroon leggings, wearing a tutu with a jester hat. He's running at the speed of light, chasing his buddy, a skeleton known as Death. The only thing running faster than Old Folly is Old Death. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have a guy in a tutu beating you with gilded pig ladders, you keep running pretty damn quick too. So the emblem float remains the same, featuring that wonderful sense of continuity. Following it is the title float, the historic chronology of the world. And the Order of Myths deliver then and now. You have the creation of the heavens by Cronus. You see the globe. You also see the expulsion of Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden. Look, there's a particular type of plant, a century plant. They once lined Government Street, and they bloom every year. You've got here a wonderful example in front of the Smith House on Government Street itself. You've got the Egyptian epic, depicted by a pyramid. Not just any pyramid, but the pyramid of Khufu or Khafre, the biggest at Giza. Mobile has its fair share of Egyptian elements, Egyptian doorways such as that once entered the Waring House on Government Street. These interior door surrounds that you see in grand houses such as the Richards DAR house. Later on, we would see them topping in our cemeteries such as Church Street Graveyard with the obelisk. You even got an fence post. Of course, the grandest Egyptian revival building is the Scottish Rite Temple. You've got to imagine this building as it was intended to be, completely covered with hieroglyphs. Ultimately, the architect decided just doing the Sphinxes, Chesty LaRue and Big Girl No. 2. So you have here the next epoch depicted. It is of Greece. Following it is Rome. Again, this is the history of the world, the chronology through architecture. You have the sack of Rome. You have a period of reconquest shown here. A Gothic reliquary chapel depicting the Middle Ages. Followed it is the age of exploration. You see here Columbus on a seashell going forth to new lands. The discovery of those new worlds and the presentation of those spoils of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. One jumps forward several centuries and you have the signing of the Declaration of Independence. You even see a cracked Liberty Bell. You have here the 1880s, the very decade which this parade is happening. The building of monuments, both north and south of the Mason-Dixon line. You have the completion of the Washington Monument. You have the completion of cemeteries and markers such as Magnolia Cemetery's Confederate Rest and Union Cemetery. So this history is getting closer and closer. And it wraps up, jump forward a little bit. I must have deleted the slide. The final float is this, showing the apotheosis of the Order of Myths, letting you know for the whole millenniums of existence, it's all about the Order of Myths. The next float in our sequence dates from the very same year. It was done by the Infant Mystics. I'm going to warn you that the Iams were a little tongue-in-cheek then, and they remain tongue-in-cheek now. The theme for their parade for that year was the Curator. It's the life of one Mobile man in 1 year. It starts out, pardon?
What?
The Curator, the life of one Mobile man in 1 year. And the parade started out with their emblem float. You have here the feisty feline. The renderer has even tossed in a little kitty cat on the pavement level. You've got here the first float. It floats a storytelling. And it is our Mobile man on New Year's Day leaving chapel. Now, if I read y'all paragraphs 17 through 29 of all the houses of ill repute and bar establishments he visited, he would need to go to chapel for all the collective days of humanity. Now, that is January. February, Mobile man has fallen in love. He is climbing up a beautiful cast iron gallery like you would have had in government on Government Street or Conception Street, and is presenting a token to his leading lady. He's fallen in love. You can see here, he's being looked upon by none other than Cupid. And Cupid is being pulled by a little chariot by monarch butterflies. Monarch butterflies migrate through this area every year. And Cupid's got 2 quivers. He's going to pop them both. The month of March is represented by a symbolic representation. A Mobile man putting his case symbolically before his future father. Apparently Pops has said yes to the union, because Mobile man is spending the whole month of April hunting, fishing, and drinking in the Mobile River Delta. You've got to the month of June, the month of brides. Mobile man and Mobile lady are getting married under a beautiful stained glass window, not dissimilar from the Gothic Revival houses of worship, such as St. John's Episcopal Church in its original form, and shown here on its original location on St. Anthony Street. The next month is the month of July. They're on their honeymoon. It's another symbolic representation. It's an offering to the gods. They want a fruitful union. They want a family. The next float is the triumphal entry, like going through a Roman triumphal arch back into town. The next month is depicted by King Cotton. It's late fall. Cotton is rolling into town for bales from Georgia to Arkansas. They're swimming in money. Guess what? They're spending all of that cotton money down in Old Havana, having a very jolly good time. The next month is the month of November. In this fuzzy slide, you can see the big turkey dinner. There's even a bottle of champagne. Now, these beautiful old lithographs were published in 2 forms. Some were broadsides that were slapped on the walls of train stations across the country. Still others appeared in newspapers in near and far. They were published well in advance of Carnival. And the intent of these depictions and descriptions was to bring people to Mobile. And they particularly noted in New York and Chicago papers, when they published them in the late fall, how much better our winter climate is yours. And they would even on this side, for this depiction of this float, if you were to flip it over and read it, where you too can buy this bottle of Mum's champagne at Myers Wholesale Liquor Store on Water Street. Now, the final float is December, and it is Santa Claus coming down a chimney by way of the ladder. Now, I'll bugger it up a little bit, but the final sentence is along this. Oops, among Santa's bundle baby. Oops, 3 months too early. Now, the final float is the float that was done by the Order of Myths in 1881. It is on the theme of a historical individual who was greatly mythologized. This was kind of a man very not dissimilar from Joe Kane, a man named Baron Munchausen. He regaled members of his cavalry regiments of his exploits and good times in life, the bulk of which were not true. He ultimately published memoirs. Other people wrote of the adventures of Baron Munchausen, and the Order of Myths chose him as a theme one year. So you've got the larger depiction. You've got the title float with the bust of the Baron, and you've got his accountings of what some of his escapades. You've got hunting. He's having a jolly good time. Hunting yet again. Hunting in the winter. He goes to a really posh dinner, riding a horse onto the table, riding his sword off into the countryside, horse having to go to the bathroom. The passage recounts that he too had to go to the bathroom shortly out of this, by his private display. He stops off at a brothel en route. Very amorous gathering shown there. During this time period, Mobile was developing legislations for its own red light district. The Baron goes on to have a very good time in creating more tall tales. Now, we've looked at broken columns. We've looked at pointed arches. We've looked at Bawdy Bordellos. Again, This is the architecture of Carnival. When you think of it, floats each year, comprising over 40 parades, are a wonderful architecture of ephemera. They tell new stories every year, and you watch them from the streets, the balconies, from in front of houses of worship. The city's architecture takes on a very new meaning, be it lasting for generations or generations, or they're just for one night. Now, I thank y'all for listening to me today. Again, Carnival is an art form, an economic engine, a hell of a good time, and then that family affair, and I hope that is your big takeaway. Thank you.